we are now recording. Let's go.
We're live.
We're
Well, I
live,
mean,
gamers. I
we're
mean, not
live.
live. I mean, live for
This
us,
isn't a
yeah.
live stream. Yeah.
Um, Fishman Island Part
What is
2!
up? Yay, Fishman Island Part
Yippee!
2. We're here. This is one day later for us because Battle had to go to bed.
It's actually been 10
But
years.
who
You're all
knows?
being played for fools.
Yep. Yeah, no, we're actually lying. But who knows when this will get uploaded after the last one, if it ever does get uploaded.
Yeah.
We're still testing stuff out.
First one's out as a test. We'll see what it looks like eventually.
But obviously, if you're watching this, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe.
Here he goes. Look at this guy.
We're trying to get
Real
to
YouTuber
10
over here.
subscribers right now.
Yeah, get ready for
At our 10
5
subscriber
special.
milestone, we will be we will be
We will be
rereading all of One
executing.
Piece
We will be
live
executing
on
Sanji
stream.
live on stream. Or
Yeah,
I
do
will. I
do
don't know
the
about
YouTubey
him.
things
I'll execute
if you
Sanji live on
want to
stream.
do them.
Or don't. Go read One Piece instead.
Or don't. Yeah, I'm not your fucking dad. You don't have to do anything I say.
Anyways, Fishman Island. Woo!
Yeah.
I like this arc a lot.
So we stopped last time
stopped
right before the
Fisher Tiger
Fisher Tiger
flashback.
flashback.
And
Which I guess just general thoughts from you first, like before we get like into the weeds.
This flashback is heavy, man. This was like a
It's
section.
real.
I think when
tough.
I finished this the flashback, I think I texted you. I said I feel like I was holding my breath for the entire back half of that volume. Because like
Yeah, this is when you were like, I wish I was doing my live readings.
Yeah, it's this and like the start of the big fight where I was like, I wish I was live reading for some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like by the end with like the Otohime stuff, I was just like I felt like I was so locked in I wasn't even breathing. I was so tense and like worried about because I knew she was dead. And I was like, what the hell's gonna happen to her? I was getting ready to pull up the clip of Luffy punching the Celestial Dragon because I thought the Celestial Dragon was gonna kill her. And I was like, oh man, I'm gonna need to watch Luffy punch the shit out of
But
one of these
no.
guys for my own well-being. But no, it's only so much worse than that.
It's just so much worse.
It's only so much worse than that. But immediately we can dive into this a little bit.
Yeah,
I really like Fisher Tiger a lot. Oh, I guess the first thing to say is we get this cover page of Usopp's friends, the kids that were part of the Usopp Pirates, and they're like they look older and it's cute. I love seeing them.
It is cute, yeah. No, the first thing we see is Otohime slapping
a
is this
thief.
Is this a fishman? I really can't tell if it's a fishman or a pirate. Okay.
It's a fishman who and then she's like it establishes that she's has some condition where she is incredibly frail.
She's like unfathomably frail because she's a goldfish fishman who are like super really shitty animals who will die if their fucking water pH is off by like a few
and also are
degrees
the best
or whatever.
Cheese snack ever invented.
This is true. I mean, it's pretty close between goldfish and Cheez-Its, but like
I can't get either where I'm at right now.
I think Cheez-It
so
takes it in like
I would kill for either of them to be
takes
honest.
it in the the alternate flavors, but if we're just talking like base Cheez-It to base goldfish, I think goldfish takes it.
Yeah, I think it clears.
This is what the people come to our videos for. Battle is our discussion on cheese crackers.
Exactly. They're not here for One Piece. One Piece is the second reason you're here. The main reason you're here is cheese cracker discussion.
Of course.
Anyway, I really like Queen Otohime. She's such a wonderful character. And it's so sad, just like the way that things happen to her.
There's like this perfect ideal of a like I wanted to say revolutionary, but like not really, but like of someone who is pushing for progressive change.
Yeah,
through
like a peaceful revolutionary. Like
the ideal that we wish was possible.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting that Oda makes her physically frail.
Yeah, I think
Because I
it is
think
very
it
interesting because like she genuinely could not fight
yeah,
if
like
she wanted to.
she could not do the kinds of things that Fisher Tiger is doing to push back against slavery and the disregard of fish
The
mankind. But
racism.
I also think it's interesting in the sense that like the everything that she pushes for, all of her ideals in the face of this like endless destructive hatred are also frail.
Hmm.
And that
Yeah.
sort of comes to a head with Hody literally killing her and attempting
Hmm.
to shatter her ideals in the same way that her bones shatter from small things. And I think it's sort of
Yeah, just
it's
slapping a
interesting.
guy.
But I
Hmm.
really like Otahime. I like this part of her and how immediately she is such a friend to the people. And it's once again interesting
Right.
how Oda will create. He doesn't just create like it's not just a all royals are bad, like anybody that's in a position of power
Oh,
is
yeah,
bad
yeah, yeah.
sort of
No, like Oda is
mindset.
not
It's
against monarchies in general.
general, yeah, because there's people
He
like
is
Otahime who
clearly
are,
against the abuse of power
yeah,
in whatever form
form
that
that
comes
takes.
in.
It because it continues as we mentioned before with Doflamingo's conversation as we sort of get into with Luffy in this section is like there are there are like pirates are not good or bad. There are good and bad pirates. The
Right.
Marines are not good or bad. There are good and bad Marines, even though the Marines as an institution are upholding the world that the Celestial Dragons
Yeah.
exist in, and the Celestial Dragons. So far, we have yet to see one that is good, but presumably Celestial Dragons could be good or bad. People like Sabo that are
Hmm.
born
Well,
into
we do
nobility are not
see,
good or
in this
bad.
flashback
Fishmen
at
are
the
not
very
good or
least that,
bad.
that one celestial dragon who like Odahime saved at least didn't kill and enslave her when she
That
went
is,
up to Marijois.
to be fair, that is more than any other Celestial Dragon has
So
shown to
like,
us. I wouldn't call it
yeah, so
good,
like there
but
clearly is at least, look,
there's at least
the
a
bar
range.
is in a hell
The
battle.
bar is
The
pretty
bar
low.
is
The
so low.
the bar is enslaving people and killing children because they're walking in front of you. So it's certainly
It is
better than that.
unfathomably low.
It
But
it's not that hard
better
to clear
than
the
that
bar, but
still.
better than that is still
There's at
something.
least some sort of spectrum to them.
And I think it's interesting the way that that Oda plays with morality, especially with the Straw Hats being this
Hmm.
sort of loose morality, in that they care more about people and bonds and friendship than they do about what is
Hmm.
good or what is bad. Which comes up later
Yeah.
with what with Jinbei after this flashback with Luffy.
Hmm.
So I'll save my full thoughts on that for a little bit. But I do like how we see how different Jinbei is. Also, like Jinbei was jaded and very similar to
Hmm.
Arlong before all these things
Yeah.
take place and all these things happen.
Which I mean, presumably comes from probably growing up in the Fishman
Probably
district
growing up
still.
in
Like
the
he
Fishman
was
district with the same,
subjected to the same
yeah. I mean him
conditions
and
that a person like Arlong
yeah,
or Hody were,
because him and
but he
Arlong are
just
not literal brothers, but they're brothers in arms, you know, and they're like,
right, exactly,
and
yeah,
before they joined the Sun Pirates, they seem to be at least good friends. Obviously, Arlong is
right.
still a little more extreme than Jinbei is, but like they have a
Yeah,
sort of like
he always
akin
had that in
relationship.
him, but like they were in no way adversarial at at that
Yeah.
point.
Um, and Fisher Tiger is so fun here. I love the way that he
Oh, he's so he has this such a like natural charisma
yeah,
about him.
natural
Like
charisma
you
and
can tell why
friendliness.
he's so respected just from like the first few panels that he's in.
Yeah, and in a way, it sort of reminds me of Boa a little bit, with the revelation that Fisher Tiger was a
Hmm.
slave, and obviously is the one that freed Boa and her sisters.
Hmm.
But you get this same like compared to like Boa in her culture is this immensely ultra respected individual, and nobody knows that
Yeah.
she's a slave. And Fisher Tiger is the kind of the same thing in that the people of Fishman Island and the Fishman District, like all of these people look up to and idealize Fisher Tiger as the hero of the Fishmen.
Mm-hmm.
and like the freer of slaves, and it makes you wonder a little bit if they would still have that same vision of him if they knew that he was a slave and not that he went not the idea that they had that he went up and then freed the slaves because he couldn't stand the
Mm-hmm.
injustice. But
And
it's interesting that we
I
get
think
this same
it's
like charismatic
interesting.
leader sort of thing from both of
Yeah.
them. And
I do
how
think it's
maybe
interesting
you
that
go. Yeah.
what
You go. You go.
um
You go.
both Fisher Tiger and Boa seem to have such an incredible amount of shame in the fact that they were slaves.
Yeah.
Like this is something that they hide and keep secret, which is I feel I haven't fully thought about this because I just had the thought. But like I think it's really interesting that there is so much shame tied up in the idea of once being a slave to the point that the Sun Pirates would rebrand themselves
Yeah.
so that no one could find out if any of them were slaves. And
Yeah.
they hide it from their people, which I feel is weird. Because like I don't feel like the people of Amazon Lily or the people of Fishman Island would be like, "Oh, you were a slave, fucking loser."
Yeah, you're not our hero anymore. We hate you, actually.
Right.
But
If
like,
it,
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the
which maybe has something
geopolitics
to
of
do
the
with
One
like
Piece world exactly are like. But maybe that
the
is the case. I mean, there's,
the some sort of
that's not like so unrealistic to the real world, you know.
yeah.
Like, I mean, I think,
Just
and
an interesting
this
thought I
is,
had.
and
I haven't fully thought about
yeah.
this at all,
I
but
mean, I think of like, and this is thematically relevant with the blood transfusion stuff. I think of like the old laws in America, like the one drop rule of like the one
hmm
drop of blood being enough to make somebody black.
yeah,
And it's similar in this where it's like the even the would it be like the concept of someone just being a slave would make them a sort of social like what's the word I'm
pariah.
looking for, pariah, yeah, or like a someone like an untouchable. Even
hmm
though, like, obviously the people of the Fishman district, and I would presume the people of Amazon Lily are not pro-slavery, not pro what the Celestial Dragons are doing,
Right.
the knowledge of it still and the way that it's seen throughout the world would still, whether conscious or subconscious, still impact the way that they think about people.
hmm
But I do like the way that Fisher Tiger, and it seems to me, I mean, maybe he did it to hide his own fact that he was a slave, but I like the way that he does it in a sort of like giving them a new life, letting these
Yeah.
fishmen who were forced to be slaves have a path to the sun. I think is an interesting
hmm
and cool general thing that he gets to do.
hmm
And also the Sun Pirates just kind of kick ass.
They do.
Like they,
They're
it's kind of
just
cool.
a cool group.
There's like a cool group of pirates who like beat the shit out of Marines and don't kill anybody on the orders of Fisher Tiger. Which I also think is
hmm
interesting is that is a Fisher Tiger not wanting the crew to kill, not wanting to prove that fishmen
hmm
are violent or evil creatures in the
I
eyes
would
of the
like
public.
to point out, in this chapter that we're on page 15, you see the one fishman with like the big eyes and the big lips, and the one with the like underbite.
Uh,
Um, in the
I'm not
cover
sure
story,
where
we
you
see
are.
those two. We see that
I don't
those
have
two
page
are.
numbers.
Oh, you don't have it pulled up. Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
don't have
yeah.
page numbers is more so the problem. I do
Right,
have I can see
because
the
you're
things.
reading volumes.
Yeah, I'm reading volumes.
But
I
in the
have.
cover stories with Hachi and Kami, those guys are like slave traders now.
Oh yeah, it's they mentioned that at the end. Yeah, it's this here when it's showing like Fisher Tiger and Jinbei and Arlong and this guy when they yeah, and so some such the coward Macro entered into the slave trade, and we know that after he leaves the Sun Pirates when Fisher Tiger dies, he goes back to the slave trade. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, I suppose as we have established, there are good and there are bad fishmen. There is Jinbei, there is
yeah.
Macro, and then there's Arlong,
hmm
who is this as strange as it is to say,
Somewhere in
almost a
between.
weird middle ground between. I mean, he's certainly not a slave trader, I guess, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's
he's
similar. It's similar
definitely
to the
not a
way we
good
talked
guy.
about with Hody last time, where like Arlong is still loyal to his people. Like
Right. Yeah, he still
Arlong is
has some
loyal
sort of
and
like honor and code.
has a deep care for fishmen, whereas Macro literally
Mhm.
tries to kidnap a mermaid and sell her as a slave. Um,
Yeah.
and like I don't think Arlong would ever even think of doing that.
No, absolutely not.
He would take a how old was Nami? Like 10, 8, a 10-year-old girl and
Uh,
brand her with a tattoo and force her to draw maps. But he wouldn't do that
yeah.
to a Fishman, which is, I mean, hey,
Right.
I mean, he's Arlong's not a good guy.
I
I'm not gonna say Arlong's a good guy,
it's
but he's
it's
not the worst
something,
guy.
man.
He's not the worst guy.
Yeah.
He at least has some code, even if the code is evil.
Uh-huh.
But man, he really does have that Fishman swag in the flashback. It's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we have the Lego Straw Hats.
The Lego shreds, yes.
I love the Lego Soul King crown on
Hat. Yeah, it's really good.
Brooke. And then we get this some more flashbacks with just the
Talking
Fisher
to
Tiger talking
Neptune
to
and
Neptune and Otohime, and then she like because obviously she has like this such intense, maybe even more intense observation hockey than what Eneru had, like able
mm-hmm.
to sense people's like feelings and emotions and history. And she like, or
Yeah.
maybe it is that she is at the same level as, or Enner is at the same level as her, but she's, you know, an
Mm-hmm.
emotional person and moved by emotion, whereas Eneru is like a cold,
Right.
unfeeling bastard.
Yeah. Well,
um,
also Eneru's observation hockey was like buffed by his devil fruit.
that's also true. But I mean, it's not like he's
He was like,
I mean, he still like has an incredible level of predictive
yeah,
capability.
yeah,
But I don't know if he would have been able to sense like Fisher Tiger's being a slave sort of thing.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then we get more of Otohime being friends. We get Baby Hody um being happy that like the Sun Pirates are like killing people or
Mm-hmm.
something, even though they're not. Um, which is really your first sort of instance that like, I mean, this kid is what, 15 years old, and he's like, yeah, kill all humans, let's go. You go, Sun Pirates, with no
Woo.
knowledge that the Sun Pirates don't kill.
This kid at 15 is fucking loves genocide.
He Yeah. Also,
Big genocide guy right
we
here.
get young Kizaru Barcelino.
Yeah.
I love this design. I love how much of like a Italian gangster kind of vibe he has to him.
Yeah.
And it's
I
cool
believe
getting
that
to see
all
him
of
as a
the
vice admiral.
admirals are based off of like different Japanese
They're based off of actors,
actors.
right?
Yeah.
I wonder
And
if
like this is the one that's like it looks exactly like the guy. This
yeah.
version of Borsalino.
I also wonder if the this is on the topic of Borsalino. Now that we know that, I mean, I guess this is a little further ahead with Jinbei explaining this to Luffy, but we know that Akainu is
Mhm.
now the head of the
The
Marines,
fleet
or
the fleet admiral,
Fleet Admiral
not
Sakazuki,
not
not
Aokiji.
Aokiji, who has not been heard from since their fight. So they're now missing
Hmm.
two admirals that we had pre-time skip. So I wonder who could be in those roles, and if it's anybody we know. It's obviously not Smoker. We know
Hmm.
he's a vice admiral. Um,
Yeah.
although I am
And I don't
thinking,
I feel like
since I'm
Smoker is in a similar position to Garp that like he may be. I don't think he's necessarily strong enough to be a admiral now, but I don't think he would want the
I don't
position.
think he would want to. Although I had been thinking about, because I think that, as we mentioned during Marineford, I think that Luffy will probably have a moment where he is standing against the three admirals again, but now he's the one that's
Hmm.
the large one in the frame. And I was
Yeah.
thinking of like, if we now have two open spots, and maybe Kizaru could get moved out of that lane there, are there three Marines with enough significance and connection to Luffy that could be the most interesting as the three admirals
Yeah. So
there?
obviously,
And I was
the
thinking like,
three would be Kobe, Helmeppo, and Django.
I was thinking one of those, not the other two. I was thinking like Kobe and
Of
Smoker,
course, you
but
were thinking Django.
yeah, I was thinking Django. I was thinking Kobe and Smoker, but I couldn't think of like a third one other than like, I don't know, Helmeppo, but I don't see Helmeppo. I feel like that wouldn't have the same
No,
kind of impact.
Helmeppo is still kind. I mean, like he's leveled up, but he's still kind of a jobber.
But like the idea of like I don't know Luffy standing against Kobe and Smoker and somebody I don't know who it would be because I can't think of another Marine that
Um,
we have that close of a connection to. There's those two, but maybe there's someone we'll meet during time skip that will fill
yeah.
that role. But I was just thinking about maybe that being a possibility since we're obviously not gonna stand against Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru as the three admirals again because two of them
Hmm.
are no longer admirals. Although I
Yeah.
suppose it's possible we could face off against the three of them at the same time again. Um, but not as admirals in the same
Well, I
way
mean,
that it would be
it
interesting to
would
see
it
them.
would be it does feel a little weird though because it feels like Kizaru would be at least somewhat adversarial with Sakazuki now. So I don't know if we would ever see those two on the same side again.
Yeah.
But like, who fucking knows?
Who knows? Maybe they both hate Luffy. I guess. I don't know. I mean,
Hmm.
Aokiji seems kind of indifferent about Luffy. Um,
Yeah.
Sakazuki's the one that wants to like eradicate him. So, and then we get more Sun Pirates being Sun Pirates. We get the argument about them wanting not to kill anybody.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And then we get the child. Oh my,
Yeah.
this kid
Koala,
is Koala is so sad, man.
dude.
Like
Koala
this,
tears me the fuck up, man.
like this shit at the beginning when Arlong hits her
He
and then she
he
rips
like
off part
bleeds
of
a
her.
little bit, and
She
she's like,
bleeds a
"Don't
little
worry,
bit.
I'll clean it up."
Don't. I'm sorry. I'll work very hard. I'll clean the ship without resting. So please don't hit me anymore. With the terrified looking smile on her face.
The yeah.
And like it's this moment of Jinbei realizing like oh shit these people like the celestial dragons are really doing this to people like even because I mean
To
because
not
to
just
not just to
fishmen, this
us
happens
this
to
to
their own
humans
kind
to
as
their own
well.
kind like they do this to everybody. It's not just that they hate the fishmen, they're just like evil people. And like it's
Hmm.
so heartbreaking seeing this kid like doing this and the way that
And then the I'll just read it. I'm sorry, I'll work hard for you. I'll clean it without rest until everything's done. So please don't hit me again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Jinbei says, "What are you doing? You're bleeding." Koala says, "I won't cry, no matter what, so please don't kill me." Ah,
it's so like devastating and it's very crushing because this kid is don't they say how old
mm-hmm.
this girl is she like 12?
Yes. I
Yeah,
think so.
she's or how old she's 11. Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
It's just it's so fucked, you know? Like it's
Yeah.
and then Fisher Tiger branding her with the Sun Pirate logo, I'm presuming.
Mm-hmm.
And he's
Yeah.
like, "You're not a slave anymore." Yeah, and why shouldn't you cry? Listen, kid, we're not the same as those slave-driving monsters. Watch, my crew kills nobody as he throws the gun over the boat into the ocean. Let's move,
Mm-hmm.
men. We're taking this girl back to her home. And then she just
And
like
then she
breaks
cries.
down is just so devastating, man.
Oh, dude.
And the whole crew being like, "Yeah!" It's just, man, Fisher Tiger
Mm-hmm.
was him, bro.
For
He
real.
was kind of him. And then we get this nice panel of the merry man fighting off suitors that want
Don't,
Kaya.
don't call him the Mary.
I don't remember his name, bro. He's
His
isn't his
name is
name Mary?
Mary.
Yeah, I just remember if that was his actual name or not. But I don't want to call him Mary because then I think of the Going Mary, and that the Going Mary I have such
Okay,
an
well, calling
emotional
him the
attachment to.
Mary feels like it accomplishes.
I called him the Mary guy. That's what I said.
Oh, I didn't hear the guy part. I just heard the Mary.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't.
Anyway, he's fighting off suitors because he knows that Kaya's only for Usopp. So,
Yep.
and also, does she have like a? I can't zoom in very much. Does she have like the newspaper cropped out to just like Usopp returning
Oh my God,
and her
that is no.
books?
It's just Sniper
Is
King.
it Sniper King? I can't. Yeah, that's so cute.
It's just the Sniper King picture,
She knows,
just like
man.
pinned on the stack of books.
Yeah, is Sniper
That's
King.
really funny. I never noticed that.
Um, And then we get
But yeah,
more of
we get
Koala just
Koala,
slowly becoming like a actual person,
a person again.
and it's so lovely. Um,
Yeah.
and then what else do we have? And then Arlong just kind of is a bit of an asshole here.
Mhm.
Um, I do like the way that he's even though he's kind of annoying about her being a human, he's still like, you saw how those
Mhm.
humans looked at her. If it weren't for the boss, I would have killed him myself. You know?
Yeah.
And we get this moment of like, I like this thing from Arlong where he says it's the way of human society. They fool themselves into believing their own race is the greatest and most splendid in the world, and their children learn from their parents to think the same way. Unless somebody puts them in their place, that ain't ever gonna change. And then you think of Hody and how literally this exact thing that Arlong says is a problem with humans happens in the Fishmen of children idolizing him.
Mhm.
And that creates Hody, who then almost goes on to like eradicate the Fishmen and their home,
The Fishman. Yeah.
um, because he hates humans so much.
Because Hody sees any fishman who isn't with him against him.
Yeah. I also like that Jinbei points out that he thinks it's less that they're looking at scorn, but that they're looking in fear.
Mhm.
Um, which is also a good moment with Koala, where she's like, "Well, that's because they don't know anything about you."
Dude, I fucking love Koala.
Dude, Koala's so wonderful. Then we get more of the crew being nice together, and then Fisher Tiger goes to take her back home,
Mhm.
and she makes it back to her family. Um, which I also think, like, are they gonna? They know that she's a slave. Are they gonna treat her like shit now that she's back? Is the thing I was thinking at the time. Um,
Who knows?
and then the
I
Marines,
mean,
bitches that they are, pull up on Fisher Tiger
yeah.
and they take him
Well,
out,
not
or
even.
they.
The people of the
That's true. The
village,
people of the village
of
sell
Koala's village,
Fisher Tiger
called.
out. Call the
Yeah.
Marines to capture
Which,
Fisher
like,
Tiger.
is just. Like, in this moment, you kind of see where Arlong is coming from. Like, you
You
can
do
see where
see,
he got his
like,
ideals
you
from.
see where Arlong is coming from.
Like, this is really fucked up.
Yeah, like it's really fucked, and you see why Arlong is pissed about it. But I also think it's
Right, this
interesting
is.
that Arlong does not spill this information to the world.
Yeah.
That he hides the story, I think is also interesting.
Hmm. I
But
think
the
because for Arlong's narrative of what he believes, this story is, useful to him.
yeah, um, and there's this freaking shot where Koala says, "Mommy, what's all that noise?" While they're shooting and attacking Fisher Tiger, and the mom just says, "It's nothing, dear." God, man, it's
God, dude.
so you know.
Hmm.
And then we have
You don't have the words for it's just fucked up.
it's just fucked up, yeah. And then Fisher Tiger refusing to submit to the humans. He will not take a blood transfusion from the humans.
I would rather die than have their blood inside me.
Yeah, I was a slave. And the way that he's just like breaking down, knowing that he
It's
can't fulfill
Oda does these
Otohime's
panels
wish.
so well.
Yeah, and like the way that he
Ugh.
feels that he can't fulfill Otohime's wish because he just like he has too much hate in his heart. He can't be
Hmm.
that
He
person.
just cannot. Yeah,
Is a
and
real
like
it's real devastating.
it's a really it is an interesting lens to take it from because like it's a realistic take on like how to deal with racism as like an institution because it is completely just like unfathomable to tell someone who has experienced something like that to just forgive them.
Yeah.
Like that would be it's not possible.
Yeah.
And we see Fish Tiger die because he cannot let go of his hatred for humans.
Yeah.
And so the solution is you can hold on to your hatred, but you cannot teach it to your children. Is
Yeah.
the only option you have.
Yeah. And then we get the some of the stuff with Otahime. She,
Mm-hmm.
as all the people of Fishman Island take back their votes for the petition to get Fishman Island recognized by the world
Yeah.
government. And she just like she breaks down, and it's this moment is really
Mm-hmm.
hard to get through.
Yeah.
Cause like she just so desperately wants what's best for her people, and knows that like
Mm-hmm.
there is this hatred that she can't do anything about that is stopping her people from being able to thrive.
Right.
Um,
And she knows that the hatred is justified, and so she can't she can't be like,
yeah, she
well,
can't tell them
get
not to
over it
feel that way, but she's like, think
because
about
it's
the
it's
next
real.
generation of fishmen. But like, that's only so much that can accomplish.
Mm.
And then Jinbei accepts his position as warlord, freeing Arlong
Reading Arlong.
to terrorize the East Blue.
Like
Um,
I do I don't know if we ever will, but like Arlong Luffy didn't kill Arlong.
yeah,
Like
we
he's
know Arlong's in
presumably
prison, don't we?
in prison. Was he impaled down?
I don't think he's in Impelled Down. I thought he was
Is
like.
he on Buggy's crew?
That'd be really funny if Arlong was on Bug. Well, Arlong would never submit to a human though. He would
No.
never be on a
No,
crew of a
absolutely
clown.
not.
Um,
But like he could be out there
I assumed
is
he was in
an interesting
captivity.
thought.
I don't know if he's necessarily in Impel Down. I mean, he was in captivity
Yeah.
before. I mean, he was in Impel Down when he was freed by Jinbei. So
Yeah. So
um,
who knows?
let me get this
Thought.
stupid bitch ass celestial dragon. Um, I just hate this
Yeah.
guy. I don't know what to say.
What's it?
His plan is to come to Fishman Island and take back all of his slaves.
Yeah.
Um, and then he starts begging for his stupid helmet so that he stops having to breathe the stinky air. And then they get closer to give him the helmet. And he's like, "Get away from me, you filthy creatures!"
Yeah.
And then Otahime takes the fucking bullet for this guy, and it's like it's so devastating.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like this cycle of hatred that is perpetuated by these stupid celestial dragons is causing pain to the most innocent and lovely people in the world.
Mm-hmm. Someone who cannot be violent
Yeah,
by just her nature
her
or her
nature.
body.
Yeah. And the fact that the reason that she stops them from killing him is that there are children watching and she doesn't want the next generation to inherit that hatred is
Mm-hmm.
just ugh. And then I was like so worried that this stupid guy was gonna kill Otahime. I thought he was gonna kill her,
Yeah.
and I was so upset. Also, Vander Decken is here.
Yeah.
He sucks.
Yeah. That guy sucks.
Um, he sucks. And then she goes up. I was assuming that she was gonna not come back too. Like this whole section, I was just like, I was like breathing not at all. I was like so worried about her. Um, I'm skipping past Decken. I don't care. And then she starts getting
But we do
tons
get
and
the moment
tons of
where later or early where fucking I can't remember her name. Shirahoshi calls the Sea
yeah,
Kings
she calls the
for
Sea
the
Kings
first
when she
time.
thinks that her mother's about to die. And that's when Vanderdecken realizes that she's the one from the whatever his stupid ancestors
Yeah.
bullshit deal was. And then is like, I'm gonna marry her. That's how I'll get the treasure. I think we also learned that that treasure is the performance enhancing pills that Hody was using, right?
Yeah. The the tamate box.
Yeah.
Pills or whatever.
And then all this wonderful stuff, everything's going so well, they're so close to getting there. And then the box is set on fire. And then she's killed.
Yeah.
And it's just so devastating. And when all of her and like the princes like dancing and pretending to be silly while they're bawling tears so that Shirahoshi doesn't freak out and destroy everything with the Sea Kings. And in
Yeah.
her final moments, she's like desperately begs her children not to hate the person who did this to her and to try and reach the light of the sun in her stead is just so absolutely devastating.
Oh,
It's just, oh man.
it's
Just that whole flashback is so devastating.
it's just horrifying, dude.
Um,
And the continued thing of everyone doing the pinky promise with Otohime's giant finger that we get
yeah,
paid off at the end.
with the straw hats.
Ugh,
Um, ugh,
breaks my heart.
breaks my heart. I do think it's funny that Luffy pinky promises by wrapping his pinky around her finger because he's a rubber man.
His gross rubber
He
finger.
stretches his pinky finger
That's
around her
that's the
finger.
only time in this series that I've been like, ew,
Yeah, what is
when thinking
wrong?
about
What a
Luffy's powers.
gross rubber man.
Ugh, I didn't like that at all.
Um, let's see here, and then I don't want to. Let's see. Once we're out of the flashback, I think I'm gonna stop moving so sequentially through everything.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sure. I don't know what volume we're in, because that was the end of the volume. I'm trying to make sure we're in the right volume. Yeah, okay, this is where we are. And then, God, this cover page is so cool of the 9 Straw Hats plus Jinbei. This for the volume cover
Oh yeah.
is awesome. I mean, technically it's the 10 Straw Hats, but you know, not yet.
You don't know that yet.
Yeah, I definitely don't know anything about that. And Hody blaming it on a human that he like forced to
Yeah, he
pretend
like
to be
paid
the
off and like
assassin.
framed this.
This random guy and then killed him.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. And Neptune locking himself in the room because he can't. He knows that he
Yeah,
won't be able um to
to
hold
control
himself to
himself.
control himself after the murder of his wife. And then the fact that
Mm-hmm.
Shirahoshi and her brothers can't go because of fucking Vanderdecken pisses me off so much. Like
Yeah.
they can't go to their mother's funeral and they have to do it through like Zoom call
Ugh.
because of him, and they give this
Mm-hmm.
like beautiful speech about like I know that you can't forgive the humans now or maybe in a year or even 2 years, but I beg you that at least one day when the scars on your hearts have healed, please join us once more in our dreams of seeing the sun. Is so, oh my god,
God.
absolutely devastating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we come back to reality. Um,
Back to reality.
and Nami's like, I'm not gonna deny that Arlong was terrible. But thanks to that, I was able to make some nice friends, so it's fine now.
Yeah.
Um, and Sanji's like, Do
This
you
sort of like
mean me,
everything happens for a reason
Nami-san?
sort of answer.
Um, and just, oh my god, Jinbei, dude. I fucking love Jinbei. Like,
Dude.
Jinbei seeing the way that Nami has been able to grow and move past it,
Mm-hmm.
and he just starts, he
And
bows his,
like relieving the guilt from his head.
yeah, he bows his head bawling such kind words that I have done nothing to deserve. You have my eternal gratitude.
Oh, dude.
Is so much, man. And Frankie
And
crying
it
too at the
I
whole
just
story.
I'm always gonna say it that I love that Oda is never afraid to let a character cry.
Yeah. Like Jinbei is not
There's never a
too
character who is
masculine
too strong or
or
too
too strong.
manly or whatever to break down.
Yeah. I
It's
also
so
like that
good.
Luffy, being Luffy, he doesn't give a shit
Was
about.
asleep.
He was asleep. He got bored of the backstory. He didn't care.
Yep.
He's like, because that doesn't matter to Luffy. Luffy's not going to be moved
Yeah.
by that. Luffy
Mhm.
already has, like, he doesn't need that backstory to be on Jinbei and Shirahoshi's side because those are already his
Right.
friends. Nothing about their
Exactly.
backstory will change the way that he feels about them, and that's what I love so much about
Mhm.
Luffy. Um, and we get this wonderful like sort of argument with. I'm sort of moving ahead a little bit, just sort of going to the
Yeah,
things that
yeah,
I
yeah.
want to talk about. Obviously, Hody has this whole big talk, and Luffy's like, "All right, I'm gonna go kick his ass," and we get this fight
Mhm.
between Luffy and Jinbei, where Jinbei's like, "No matter what, you cannot do that," and he's like, "Why not?"
Mhm.
And they have this great fight um, of ideals where like Luffy's like, "My friends are in danger. I'm gonna go beat his ass," and this is where sort of my connection I wanted to talk about that I almost forgot completely about is my I think a parallel of Jinbei and Vivi
Mhm.
in that and this all ties into what I was talking about before about how Luffy is becoming the pirate that Ace didn't get the chance to be.
Yeah.
Um, because like back before
You can't
Vivi,
say shit like that without expecting me not to tear up, dude.
tear up right now, do it. That's what
I
I'm here.
am.
Good. Uh,
Yeah, I really am, dude.
but like Vivi taught Luffy the importance like the importance of being a leader and what it means that he is responsible for the crew.
Mhm.
And Jinbei, now 2 years later, now that Luffy is so much stronger and the crew is so much more capable, is taking that a step further. Because
Yeah.
Jinbei is like, look, Luffy, you are not just some kid who happens to be a pirate captain anymore. You're a big
Yeah.
fucking deal.
Yeah.
And you
You
showing
are
up
a
and doing these
globally
things,
known pirate captain, and
like,
above
and
above all else, a human.
yeah, like you are a globally like notorious pirate captain, a human, and the things that you do have
They
meaning and
fucking
have
matter.
influence. They matter and they have real world consequences outside of just your crew. And it's this like
Yeah.
continued expansion of the things that he was taught by Vivi now being taught by a new ally and mentor and crew member who also is
Mhm.
blue, just like Vivi. Um, and continuing to show like Luffy what it means to be the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates.
Mhm.
Um, and they
What it
have
means to
this
be the king of the
what it means
pirates.
to be the king of the pirates. Um, and I love the confrontation these two have
That
about
is
this.
so I never really clocked that. That's such a good point to bring up.
And while I'm on the topic of Jinbei, I want to move into my Sabo
He
thoughts.
keeps talking about this Sabo
This
thing
Sabo
he wants to
kid.
talk
I want to talk
about.
about Sabo. So,
Who
and
is
this is
dead, by the
Sabo is
way.
dead, by the way. But this is something I want to talk about both in the context of Jinbei and Hody. So I think they sort of go hand in hand in this sort of conversation. In that, I think in a lot of ways that in this arc, Jinbei is has become not necessarily replacement is not the right word, but a new brother for Luffy. I think
I feel that. I get what you're saying.
because I think because first you have Luffy's new scar, right? Luffy did not
Mhm.
get that scar because Ace failed to protect him from getting hurt. Ace died and Luffy was
Mhm.
completely fine. He got that scar because Jinbei shielded him from danger and kept him alive. That scar is not a
Yeah.
sign of his loss of Ace, it is the sign of gaining a new friend in Jinbei that he wears on his
Ooh.
chest.
Ooh.
And and then like there's the thing about in the like, with Jinbei is just like Sabo, if you really think about it, because Sabo was born in this environment where there is a cycle of hatred, and the people in the nobility are supposed to think about the people in the trash heap a certain way. And
Mhm.
Jinbei is in the same boat. He grew up in the Fishman. He's almost like, if anything, he's maybe more like Ace in that regard, that he's in the trash heap sort of thing. But both of them grow out of that and reject that hatred and that cycle of hatred, and instead are like, we need to do better. I want to be friends. Like Luffy, Jinbei wants to be friends. He wants to be companions with Luffy, in the same way that
Mm-hmm.
Sabo was willing to reject his nobility for that. And then there's the thing in Luffy's backstory where Luffy, um, he becomes brothers with Sabo and Ace by sharing a drink.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of this arc, Luffy and Jinbei, in a sense, share a drink by having a blood transfusion. In creating this brotherly
Interesting.
bond between a fishman and a human that should be impossible by what the world has decided is not possible, is for
Mm-hmm.
humans and fishmen to coexist. And yet, despite that, you have who is, I believe, at least of the currently alive fishmen, maybe the most respected fishman in their population is Jinbei,
Mm-hmm.
and becoming the world's biggest upstart pirate who will be the king, being
Right.
friends, being bonded,
Now
being
literally
brothers,
sharing blood
literally
with
sharing their
each
blood
other.
and being literal blood brothers in a sense.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think it's really
God, that's
interesting that Jinbei
he is fucking cooking right now,
is similar to
guys.
Sabo in that way. And then you look at Hody, who is the anti-Sabo.
Mm-hmm.
Hody is, in a sort of cruel way, exactly the same as the little girl in that snippet of Luffy's backstory of like, oh well, why are those people in the trash heap not human, Daddy? Oh well, they should have just been born as a noble. That's their mistake. Hody is in that
Mm-hmm.
same sort of like, he is the child
That same
being taught
mindset.
that hatred. He's the child being taught the
Yeah.
hatred and then lashing that hatred out against the world, which obviously we haven't seen that little girl doing that, but it's something that Sabo could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Sabo easily could have been just like Hody. And yet he rejects
Yeah.
that cycle of hatred that his father and his adoptive brother are trying to force onto him, that the world that he was born into force onto him. And similar to Jinbei, rejects it, as opposed to Hody, who absorbs it willingly and becomes this embodiment of hatred. And I think it's interesting
Ugh.
that the first enemy that Luffy faces after the time skip and after we learn his backstory is the opposite of Sabo. Thematically.
Yeah. I'm
And
taking all
that's
that in.
been
I'm taking all that
this
in.
has been
I'm trying to form
this has been my
thoughts.
thoughts with, well, my whole Sabo theorem. And it is making
Hell
me more
yeah.
excited for when we see Sabo again, because he's not dead. I do know that, and also, even if I did know that, come on,
Come on, guys.
come on. As from what
Sorry
I
for
understand,
spoilers. If anyone is
sorry for spoilers.
watching this
Sabo's
who doesn't know
alive.
Sabo is alive,
If you didn't think
uh,
Sabo was alive,
come on.
come on, bro. I'm sorry. From what I understand, there's like almost nobody who watches Luffy's backstory and thinks that Sabo's actually dead. Um,
Yeah.
so
Unless you
I'm
have
really
someone like
interested to
me
see.
watching it with you who will gaslight the hell out of you. Like,
So
what are
I'm
you
really excited to
talking about? You're
see,
being fucking crazy.
but I'm really excited to see
We
Sabo
saw
come
him get
back,
shot.
because I'm interested to see how Sabo is similar or different to Jinbei in his current state.
Interesting. Hmm.
And also interested in maybe Jinbei interacting with Sabo, although I don't know when Sabo's going to show up and when Jinbei's going to join the crew. My guess is after we beat Big Mom. I don't know when that's going to be,
Hmm.
but I presume we're going to have to
Yeah.
fight Big Mom now that we have made an enemy of her and she wants to take out Straw Hat Luffy, and Jinbei has connections to Big Mom, and that's part of why he can't join the crew yet. So I'm guessing that when she's out of the picture, Jinbei will join the crew, is my hope.
Uh-huh.
And also, if I didn't know that Jinbei was going to join the crew, I would have believed 100% that Jinbei was joining the crew, because I love.
Yeah.
I mean, there's too much there with the brotherhood and the sharing the blood and the everything is just so good.
Oh, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Like, I feel like people have wanted Jinbei to join the crew since fucking, Marineford.
Yeah, but I don't know how much people at the time were like actually 100% sure that Jinbei was going to join. But I would have been 100. I would have been on the front lines of Jinbei support, because I love Jinbei a
Yeah.
lot, and I like the way that he thematically can tie into Luffy's backstory. Almost like he is taking this brother position in place of Ace, because Ace wanted Jinbei to look after him, after my crybaby brother.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh. Shut up. You can't do this to me.
yeah, I can. I have the power. I'm gonna keep moving through my thoughts on stuff. I want to talk about the Straw Hats leveling up. Let me find the big fight, uh, so that I
Mm-hmm.
can sort of go through it in order because I am so excited. So first thing we see is that before we even get into the fight, is that we learn that Brook can just like extend his
Detach his
soul out of
soul.
his body. What the
Yeah.
hell?
He
Um,
he has his powers to control his soul.
yeah. Um, and it's
And
awesome.
also ice for some reason.
Well, couldn't he do that before? Isn't that even a thing he did before he had
I think
the
so.
soul powers? Like he was just doing that. Then we get introduced to there's the Hodie's group of jobbers. I also think it's
Yeah.
interesting that I think in a similar oh god the freaking Laboon page cover page. Also, I skipped past it, but the other cover page that made me cry that I skipped past while I was getting to where we are or trying to get to where I am right now is the one of
Mm-hmm.
it's I can't remember any of their names other than Nojiko, but it's Nojiko and
Yeah.
the pinwheel guy and the little kid from that tried to like attack Usopp or whatever, all at Belmare's
Yeah.
grave, eating tangerines, and they have the
The
newspaper saying
newspaper.
that the Straw Hats are back on her gravestone, and it made me cry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But let's see. I'm trying to get to the big main fight. Also, this Hody overdosing Hody is so cool looking.
Oh yeah.
Um, but let's see here. We get to. I
Sorry, I'm
also
sorry if
like.
anyone can hear. My cat is jingling around, but
Great cat.
hopefully that doesn't show up on the
Um,
recording.
I didn't hear it, so I don't think it got picked up by Discord.
Okay.
I also love that they try to set up this plan where they'll show up like secretly, and then Jinbei will call for Straw Hat's help, and then Luffy will show up out of nowhere, and then like Hody sort of moves it a little bit too far forward, and then Jinbei's like, "Well, I guess we got to do it now." Luffy, and then Luffy just like falls out of Megalo's mouth onto like his face.
Yeah.
um, but I think I was gonna say, and then I sidetracked myself. I like that we sort of, in a similar way to how Arlong Park back in East Blue, really shows that the Straw Hats are big fish in a small pond. I
Mm-hmm.
think this arc kind of does something similar in that it sort of
Yeah.
shows. Obviously, there's that with the pacifistas and Return to Sabaody, but like
Mm-hmm.
it shows that like something that's like Arlong on a bigger scale and is blocking us from the new
Right.
world is not a true threat to the Straw Hats. Like they can take like
Yeah.
these this his like group of guys like compared to like CP9, this group of guys they're basically a bunch of gag characters for the Straw Hats to show off their new powers to, and I like that it's sort of
Right.
setting the new scale of like this is what the Straw Hats are capable of. They're not gonna get roadblocked by something as small as Fishman Island.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, in
Exactly.
the same way that they're not going to get roadblocked by somebody like Arlong. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and showing how much they've grown and how much progress they've made. Um,
Yeah.
and we get the only really cool moment of leveling up with Nami where she does her invisibility thing again to steal um, the
Mm-hmm.
contract and also the keys.
Yeah.
Um, Frankie shoots a thing, but I'm just gonna try and move to. Also, I love boom, this page is awesome. It's the Straw Hats, they're all here. Straw Hat Luffy, are you really here to destroy the island? Why'd you take over the palace? Have you been kidnapping mermaids? Just tell us one thing. Are you enemies of Fishman Island, or are you allies? Enemies or allies? How about you decide that for yourselves? And then boom,
Ah.
all the Straw Hats lined up, including Jinbei and also
Yup.
Shirahoshi, and it's awesome. Very cool. I mean, every time Oda draws all the Straw Hats lined up, it's awesome. I especially love this shot of
Mm-hmm.
Chopper, because he somehow made Walk Point look really intimidating. um,
Yeah.
like everybody else is like kind of stanced up, but Chopper is like ready to kill, and I love it. And then we get the flashback to them coming up with this plan. But I want to start moving into the Straw Hats leveling up and all their new shit that they can do. I also love there's a moment where Hody says that he's going to be king of the seas, uh, and
Mm.
Luffy says, I'm the only one who's going to be the king of
Luffy
the
Luffy cannot
pirates.
let that shit
And
slide.
Luffy's not going to let that shit slide. I also love Luffy wiping out 50,000 of the fishmen with his Conqueror's Hockey, just knocking out half of them in an instant, which is really cool. Then we get first to Brook, and even still, it's still Brook is first. I kind of talked about this before, but this shit is so cool, man. The fact that Brook is like a soul manipulator, and he's like, he uses the music to like bring, because he literally he says party music, and then like brain melds like a group of like 20 fishmen into thinking they're in like a nighttime carnival at an amusement park.
Yeah.
With like dancers and everything, and then just like does the EI slash through all of them while they're distracted. And it's not in the manga, but in the anime during this scene with the Fantasia thing, as he slices through while he's sheathing the sword into the cane, he says, "You all have been a lovely audience today," and then he sheathes it, and I think that's way harder than him saying the attack name.
That is really hard.
It's super cool. And then later when he's fighting the shitty invisibility guy, the guy who's somehow worse at using his powers than Absalom. The way that he like starts the humming and causes him to like dissociate that he doesn't even notice Brook walking past him is so cool. And I am so excited to see
I love
the more applications of how Brook's powers work. I love everything to do with Brook except for the panties thing. But everything else about this character is like everything I love in a character ever. And I'm so excited to see the extension and the further uses of Brook's music and soul powers and what Oda's going to cook up with it, because it's awesome.
Yeah.
Then we have Zoro. He cuts good. I don't know what to say, really. I don't feel like we really get enough of things going on in this like arc that are big enough deals for us to really see how much stronger Zoro is.
Yeah, like it feels like Zoro is still very much holding back.
Because like Zoro, I mean, obviously Zoro is now taking out waves of guys without really thinking, whereas before he would have at least had to try a little bit. But we don't get like, I feel like we get a better sense of what Zoro's capable of now with him cutting the boat in half without even, with just one sword.
Yeah.
Than we get of his 3-sword style in this section of the story. Then we get Sanji. It's cool that Sanji can skywalk. I really like that. I like that Robin thinks it's cool. Yeah. I think it's funny that skywalk is something that Robin thinks is cool, but then all the Frankie shit she is completely unamused by. I also like that the panel of Robin looking up and being amazed at what Sanji's doing. She's not even looking, but behind her, she's snapping the neck of two fishmen.
Snapping some dude's neck.
She's snapping two fishmen's neck with her powers, and she's not even looking at them. But Sanji gets to do some cool stuff. I mean, it's more of his fire kicking. It's mostly just Skywalk that's really cool to see.
We get Robin's big feet.
Robin, big feet, and then Oda decides to really detail draw her toes.
That. I know you loved that so much, Battle.
What the hell are you talking about? What the hell? This is character assassination. I was just about to say, why the hell did Oda draw her grippers in so much detail, crushing these guys? There was no
What do you
mean?
You love that shit.
All I will say, Oda came back, and within the first arc, he drew detailed drawings of both Robin and Nami's feet. What the hell, man? Oda took a month break, and he was losing it. He had to goon so bad. He was drawing chapters with one hand,
Oda, bro.
Oda,
don't say that about Oda.
Oh, I don't think Oda. Have you read the SBSs? I can say that about Oda. All right. But like he was drawing this arc with one hand. And then we get new stuff that the Sunny gets to do. I like that the Sunny gets to level up too as a result of Frankie building new shit.
Yeah.
We get the Rhino motorcycle, as well as like the Brachiosaurus
the
tank,
turtle tank.
The turtle tank.
The Brachiosaurus tank, which then combine into the General.
And I love Chopper being at the helm of the the
Piloting the
tank.
tank.
My name is Commander Chopper. While he's crying, and then
So happy.
and I love that Luffy is just amazed at every new thing that Frankie shows. He's like, "What a
Yeah,
rhino
because
bike,
Frankie's
a
sick as fuck.
tank! That's so cool." Um, uh, and then the Kraken shows up, trying to get to the other members of the
Yeah,
crew, and
the
then
Kraken has a
Frankie,
name, right?
Tsurume, or at least that's what it is in my translation,
Yeah, it's
Tsurume.
Tsuname.
And then Frankie Megazord combines the Rhino bike and the Brachiosaurus tank into Iron Pirate General Frankie. What the hell, bro? Also, when he starts piloting the mech, he gets the Pompadour back, and it looks awesome.
And it's
The
a drill.
this and the well, like he himself has the Pompadour, and then the
Oh,
mech has a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Pompadour
yeah.
that is a drill, like Gurren Lagann style Pompadour drill
Mm-hmm.
with the Straw Hat logo on the chest of the robot, which is also cool.
Yup.
And dude, General Frankie is so cool. Why does he have a giant
It's
robot?
just so
That shit's
sick.
awesome. I like. What else is there to say other than holy
I
shit,
mean,
Frankie
we're
has a
just
giant
like
robot?
fucking like Luffy and Usopp and
Exactly.
Chopper.
I a
It's just
giant.
so sick.
All Frankie needed to do to win me over was have a giant robot. Like really, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool. Frankie's design looks so perfect with the pompadour.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also like the gag that he keeps revealing special powers of the giant robot, only to reveal that it's him opening the cockpit and using his shoulders. Uh, which I think is really funny. I also
Mm-hmm.
love this is here on the first one when he first does Frankie Cannon with his shoulders instead of the robot. We get
Yeah.
this one reaction image of Robin just staring, unamused, just a blank stare looking at the robot.
Yup.
I think this panel got me in a similar way to the buggy face, where I was laughing at this panel for like 5 minutes of just her staring.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get Nami getting to do some sorcery climb attack stuff, which is really cool. And then she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't get to fight anybody really. She just kind of fights regular fishmen the whole time.
Yeah.
And then Usopp gets to show off some more of his cool green stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then my goat, Tony Chopper!
We get fucking a horn
Horn
point. I
Point!
love the horn point
I was
design.
freaking out at Horn Point reveal. This design is awesome. The giant
Yeah.
horns, the like I don't know, he's like long hair that he's got is so cool.
Yeah.
And the way that this calls back to Usopp and Chopper teaming up in Alabasta to fight an enemy that digs to
Mm-hmm.
the ground, and how before both of them were like beaten within an inch of their life, and then this time they do it without even like sweating.
Yeah.
There's only one form I need the Rumble Ball for now. And then this is maybe my favorite part of this whole arc is this part with Chopper, where he says the other six I can use freely anytime I want. These horns are not coral, and I'm not a creature. I'm an insolent monster.
Ugh.
Mm. And then this comes up later when he says that I think it's Zoro. It's either Zoro or Usopp
Yeah.
that says that the new
Because he
heavy point
changed
doesn't look as
his
human
human point
to heavy
to
point because
heavy
he doesn't
point.
care about looking like a human anymore because he doesn't need it to make friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Now he wants to be a monster for Luffy.
yeah. Um, and then we get into the next
I
point.
love Chopper, bro.
I fucking adore Chopper. Let's see. What else is
Mm-hmm.
there to talk about? I feel like, I mean, I could go through the series of pages that's like, I think it's 7 straight 2-page spreads of the Straw Hats doing something cool. I think it's like, it's Elephant Gatling, and then it's like Zoro, Sanji, Usopp, Chopper, Frankie, Brook all get to do like back-to-back
Mm-hmm.
pages. Meanwhile, Robin
Yeah.
and Nami don't get to do anything. Although Robin does get a moment where she frees all the slaves by using her clones and growing them out of the slave guy's
She had her
back.
big foot moment earlier,
Yeah,
which
she gets the
was
Bigfoot moment, but like everybody else squares off against somebody, and then Nami gets to fight jobbers, and then Nami or Robin kind of gets to square off. She squares off against the slave trader guy, and she like grows clones of herself out of his back and like restrains him and starts unlocking the things. I also like the moment where she's unlocking the handcuffs, and then they like shoot a cannon at her, and then it's not her. It's a fake Robin. Is really cool. Robin's new power set is really cool.
Yeah, her fucking shadow clones.
So let's see. I think next thing to talk about, this is moving way ahead to after the whole conflict, but I feel like I've talked mostly about what I want to with Hody and stuff. Although I want to briefly mention Red Hawk. Holy shit, it's the move that's more iconic than the Kamehameha, guys. Holy shit, it's the thing.
I feel like most people aren't gonna know what you're talking about.
They don't. You don't think
there
most
was a
people
tweet
are...
a while back?
The tweet
when Luffy did a Red Rock in Wano, that some dude on Twitter tweeted, y'all gotta admit by now that the Red Rock is more iconic than the Kamehameha, which like, huh?
Which no, it isn't.
This is which is just an inside bit between me and Battle now.
But holy shit,
because like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Holy shit, it's the attack that's more iconic than Kamehameha. No way, he did the thing. So I'm gonna skip a little way ahead.
I do love Red Hawk, as you know, especially in the anime when they kind of lay it out for you.
Ace. Yeah,
with
I
the
love
tribute to Ace.
Also, is he like making his body overheat from steam to the point that it literally catches fire? Is that what he's doing with Red Hawk, or is he just built?
It's either that or just the classic like comic book thing of he's moving so fast that he's on fire. The air.
Okay, that's also possible. I was just curious.
I don't know which one it is. Either way, he's punching him with fire. He's a fire fist.
Yeah, he's a fire fist. So I'm gonna skip a little further ahead to after the fighting is done.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Robin's talk with Neptune about what she discovers on the poneglyph. She discovers that it was like a apology from a man named Joy Boy to the princess at the time, the weapon Poseidon. So many questions. We also learned that Robin
is the princess.
She is the Princess Shirahoshi. She is the weapon Poseidon. And I've been doing some thinking today about what the hell the weapons are. Because presumably, I mean, we never got to actually see the Pluton blueprints, so we don't really know if the Pluton blueprints showed that it was a ship or if it was something. But my current thinking is that I think in some way all three of the weapons, the Pluton, Poseidon, and Neptune, will be
Uranus.
Sorry, Uranus. My bad.
Neptune is the king.
I know. My brain is exploding. I think will in some way be allied to and assisting Luffy in whatever the big final conflict is.
Yeah.
I think that Shirahoshi
because we've talked previously that we think that...
I think the Sunny is probably the Pluton in some way, shape, or form.
Frankie's rendition of it.
The rendition of it. Obviously, Shirahoshi is Poseidon. I don't really have a guess for what Uranus is. I'm guessing... Like, my idea is that sort of maybe the Pluton is the land, and by extension sort of the top of the sea where boats and stuff are. And then Poseidon is at the bottom of the ocean, so it's a fish person. And then Uranus must be from the sky.
Okay, hear me out. Is it the moon?
I think there is a chance it could be the moon.
Like, what if the moon is... Because we've seen in the Eneru cover stories that there's like a society of like...
of moon people.
Technologically advanced stuff going on up on the moon. What if the moon is just a giant, like, orbital fucking laser cannon?
I've also been thinking of, like, what if there's, like, I don't know if this is the right way.
What if the moon is...
What if the moon...
a boat.
Is a boat? That would be pretty hype. But I was thinking of, like, maybe there... Because I feel like there's got to be something more to the weapons than just... Oh, there is a person born every couple hundred years that has this power. Because I don't see how that is... described in the same vein as the Pluton, which as far as we're aware is just a boat weapon. So I'm feeling like there's
Like a
maybe
warship.
something like a warship, yeah. So I'm feeling like maybe there's something more that
Wait,
connects the three of them.
maybe it has to do with the Noah in that
There is a
the
chance. So I
Poseidon
was thinking
can
what I was
control the
thinking.
Noah.
Let me
So what
sort
if
of
they're all boats?
well here. Let me work out what I was sort of thinking. I was thinking that
Okay.
maybe the weapons have three pieces, in the sense that there is a human
Mm,
component, there is an animal component, and there is a ship component.
okay.
And so the Poseidon, the human component and the fish component would be Shirahoshi, and then the boat component would be the Noah.
Uh-huh.
Or the human component would be Joy Boy's modern day equivalent, which I think probably maybe I don't know. I'm guessing that maybe the people that can hear the Sea Kings are that human component. So maybe it was like Roger and now it's Luffy, and then Shirahoshi and then the Noah. And so then
Hmm.
maybe the Pluton is similar, and that the boat itself, the Sunny, is the boat. Luffy is presumably also the human component, but I have no clue what the animal component would be. Other than
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe, but I do think there may be I don't know because it has some connection because the Sunny does have an animal for its masthead.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something in the masthead that is important. I don't know.
Maybe.
Um,
I don't know.
but I think there is at least a human and a ship component. I think there's maybe an animal component. And
Hmm.
that I think you need all the pieces to make the weapon work. And I think
Interesting.
somehow they're all going to become allied to Luffy, and that maybe Luffy is the human component for all three. Maybe because
Oh,
there's something
okay.
else to Luffy. Maybe he's I don't know. I think before in Skypiea I said that Luffy was light.
Hmm.
Um, and obviously this is a bit of influence from the Mom Piece thing, but I don't know. Maybe Luffy is the sun, which then
Yeah.
is interesting if Uranus is the moon. Um,
Yeah.
because like Luffy
That is.
represents in this arc, he represents like moving towards the sun for the Fishman people, as when he makes that bond with Jinbei,
Hmm.
and so it makes me think about him being light again and him maybe being the sun, and then also he is the one that reveals the sun to the people of Thriller Bark for the first time in at least 50 years, if not more, and is
Yeah.
able to bring the sun to Brook, and so I think that him bringing the
Hmm.
light at least keeps coming up. Um,
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that maybe I don't know, maybe there's something to do with that. Maybe that's how you connect the Uranus thing. It could be the moon. I was thinking about the arc Maxim because I think it's interesting that it's called the arc, and there's also an
Yeah.
arc at
It's
the
a
bottom.
boat.
There's a well, not just that it's a boat, because an arc is like a bigger. It's not like a. The
Yeah. It's
Sunny's like a warship
an arc is a boat with a very is a big boat with a specific
with a
purpose.
specific purpose. And I keep thinking about the fact that there is an arc Maxim that's in the sky and I guess currently at the moon. Although I think it got destroyed on the
Hmm.
moon, if I'm remembering from the cover stories. And then now there's an arc on the bottom
Yeah,
of
they
the
could
ocean.
rebuild it. Yeah, and
Um,
I do think that Fishman Island is sort of framed as a sort of parallel
well, to
to
Skypiea,
Skypiea,
yeah,
in that this is, Skypiea is 10,000 feet up into the sky. This is 10,000 feet below the sea,
below the
or whatever
sea,
the
yeah.
actual measurement is. There's a poneglyph down here. There's a poneglyph up there.
There,
Um,
I think it's interesting that the
we
poneglyph in
get and
Skypiea points
there's
to Fishman
arcs.
Island, but the one in Fishman
Yeah,
Island just refers to the Poseidon.
yeah.
Um,
Uh,
and doesn't refer to anything in the
but who knows?
sky. But I don't know. I think I've been thinking about the fact there's an arc in the sky and an arc in the bottom of the ocean. Luffy is maybe the human component. And who the hell is Joy Boy?
There's there is a god of the sea in Neptune.
There's a
There's
god
a
in the
god
sea,
of
there's
the
a god
sky
in the
in
sky in
Emeru.
Eneru, and I guess now Gonfall. Now that he's
Yeah.
the god again. Which then begs the question about Pluton, because I mean, in the context of like Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, which is not
Hmm.
exactly what this is because Uranus is not Zeus, although he is, from what I understand in mythology, is like a god of the sky, whereas like it's
Yeah,
similar to Zeus,
I think like the sky and the
the
heavens.
sky in the heavens. And then Poseidon is obviously the ocean, and then Pluton or Pluto or Hades would be the underworld, which is more Earth connected than the other two, at least. But I feel like
Yeah.
maybe there's something more to the Pluton. And then there's like the fact that Impel Down was like hell, but then we met
Yeah.
the Queen of Hell, but she doesn't seem to have any, or like Iva doesn't have anything to do with the Pluton as far as we're aware. Um, at least I feel like if there was a connection there between Iva, it would have been something that maybe could have been brought up and wouldn't just be like a completely empty thread there.
Mhm.
But Impel Down is the closest thing we have to the underworld or to Hades. And it doesn't seem to
Mhm.
have any connection to Pluton, unless, of course, there is an arc at the bottom of Impel Down and we just didn't see it. Um, but those are my thoughts on the weapons. I don't really have super concrete thoughts, but those are what I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
And who the hell is Joy Boy? I just keep thinking about who the hell is Joy Boy. Um,
Yeah. Or I guess who is and who was
who
Joy
was
Boy?
Joy
Is there
Boy?
a Joy Boy now?
Is Joy Boy something that will recur? Not in like the sense that like oh there's a reincarnation, but like the kind of person that Joy Boy was. Could that happen again in
In
the
the same
same way
sort of
that
like inherited wills sort of thing that we've
thing?
talked about
Yeah, of
a
like
lot
the
in
will
this
of
story.
D, or with like Roger and Luffy seeming to be a mirror of each other. Maybe there is something similar to that going on with Joy Boy. Who knows? Maybe he had the same dream as
Hmm.
Roger and Luffy, whatever the hell that dream is.
Yeah.
Um,
Whatever it is.
whatever it is, it's clearly something that's going to change the world because Roger
Yeah.
introduced himself to Rayleigh by saying, "Want to go like I forget if it was change the world or like flip the world on its head or something to that effect with me." He's like, "You want to go change the world with me?"
Hmm.
And Rayleigh's like,
Yeah.
"Are you kidding me? Who is this guy?" Um, I think that's all I have to say about those. And then we have Big Mom, who's
Okay.
very interesting. I think it's interesting how opposite she is to Whitebeard, and I think that's very intentional. Because
Yeah.
Whitebeard was a father,
Hmm.
and Big Mom obviously a mother, by the title, anyway.
Yep.
Um, and unlike Whitebeard, she does not seem to put places under her protection out of her goodwill. She does it to exploit them for her own gain.
Right.
And she's I believe they said she was on Whole Cake Island, so we're
Yep.
probably gonna have to go there to deal with her unless she comes to us. But I don't see her doing that.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know what other connections she could have. We really don't know a lot about her.
Yeah. I
I
mean, we
do
find out,
like
you know,
you go.
in this bit that like, um, fuck, I lost it.
All
You
right,
go.
then I'll go.
I'll get it back.
I like the way that Luffy is so confrontational with her in the way that like you're
Hmm.
being mean to my friends, I'm gonna kick your ass. Um,
Yeah.
I love that like her goons are, oh god, which of us is gonna pick up the responder snail? I don't want her to be mad at me. And then Luffy picks it up, is like, hey, I'm Monkey D. Luffy. Who are you? And then she's mad about the candy. And he's like, well, there's no candy left because I ate it all.
Yep.
If you've got a problem with that, you can take it up with me. Which I think is fun. I'm interested to see what kind of
Yeah.
villain she turns out to be, and how far Oda leans into her being the opposite of Whitebeard.
I think Big Mom is just like generally kind of terrifying from this first introduction.
Yeah, she's very
Like you can tell that
intimidating.
her men are terrified of her.
The
Um,
fishmen are terrified
the
of
way that
her.
she's just like portrayed in shadow, she seems to be giant.
Yeah,
Whether or not she is a giant or not is yet to be seen. But like she is big.
yeah.
She's a big mom.
She's a big mom. She has big presence, big threat.
Hmm.
Um,
I meant
but
just like
I think it's interesting
physically,
how
she
much
is big.
she is as an opposite to Whitebeard. Especially
Hmm.
with Luffy being in ways sort of a mirror of Whitebeard, as we talked about in Marineford.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so I'm interested to see how she ends up, and it also makes me think, what if Kaido is the opposite of Shanks? just as an idea. Because maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the thing in the Mom Piece stuff about the emperors potentially being like the four directional gods in Japanese folklore. Um, I
Hmm.
don't know which one would be Whitebeard, but I'm in my head I'm imagining like maybe Whitebeard and Big Mom are on opposite directions, and then also Shanks and Kaido are on opposite directions. So maybe if Big Mom is the opposite to Whitebeard, maybe Kaido is the opposite to Shanks. I don't know what the opposite to Shanks looks like, because I really don't know enough about Shanks, other than that I know Shanks is a good guy and he's chill with Luffy. Um, but maybe the opposite of Shanks is someone who is deeply prideful, um, and like cares little for the plights of others and is more self-centered sort of way, and
Hmm.
is the opposite of how Shanks doesn't care if someone makes fun of him, but if they endanger someone that he cares about, he will um kick their ass in the same way that Luffy will now. So maybe
Of
Kaido
course.
is the opposite of Shanks in that regard, and then if Big Mom and Kaido are enemies, Whitebeard is similar to Luffy, and so Big Mom is in effect opposite to Luffy, and then Luffy is similar to Shanks, and so then in effect Kaido is opposite to Luffy also. Is some
Uh-huh.
thinking. And you know, we joked about it. I did somehow
Inter
manage to make it to what the hell is up with Shanks, and this was not my plan. I had not thought about this at all prior to this conversation until I made the Big Mom Whitebeard connection as we were going.
Hmm.
So that's I guess my prediction about Big Mom and
We
Kaido.
can't fall into the what's going
No,
on with
that's
Shanks
enough of what's going on with
trap.
Shanks. Then we have the prophecy that Luffy is going to destroy Fishman Island.
Hmm.
I really
Which
don't know.
I
You said
think
you had a theory that
from
you had been thinking at this time and was popular around this time, so I want to hear it because I really don't know
yeah.
what I'm thinking about it yet.
So the theory that I have heard and that I came to as well is that we know that Fishman Island is positioned directly below Marie-Joie
Right,
on the world map.
right.
Like they are under the red line. The Marie-Joie is above them. And so in whenever Luffy ends up taking Marie-Joie down and maybe the whole red line, it will destroy Fishman Island in that moment. This would
But
also
also
then
give them a
create
direct path to the
a
sun,
point. It would also then create a point in the sea where all five oceans coalesce.
creating the all blue.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Which
Interesting,
is the
interesting,
theory
interesting.
that
That
I
is an
tend to
interesting theory.
prescribe to,
I like. I'll have to think on that
that
more.
Luffy is going to literally just in in the way that he does remove obstacles, remove the biggest obstacle
To world
being
travel,
the
which is the
giant
red line.
red wall that is the red line. Um or at least the portion of it that is, that
Above Fishman
Marie-Joie sits
Island.
on top.
Yeah.
Um, thus fulfilling the prophecy, t- showing the fishmen the way to the sun, creating the all blue, um, and destroying Marie-Joie.
Right. Interesting. I will need to think on that before I have more comments on what I think about that theory. But I do like
Uh-huh.
that idea. It's an interesting idea that I need to think on. Let's see. Then we have
Um,
heading to the surface. So leaving, we have
yeah.
the
So
pinky
after
promise
all
with
this,
Shirahoshi. We have the
hmm
continued bullshit with White Hair Caribou, where he just continues to get jobs over and over again, which I think is kind of funny.
a good
Um,
bit.
I want to talk first before I get into the thing that I want to talk about the most. So I want to talk about Vice Admiral Smoker,
Oh hell yeah.
my fucking goat, and also Tashigi, who looks great. I love her new design. I love her pink marine jacket,
Yeah, the like Hawaiian shirt.
her Hawaiian
Oh, and
shirt,
the
and her
yeah, and the
pink
marine
marine
jacket.
jacket. It's also interesting that they're both now wearing marine jackets when neither of them were before. I think is an interesting change in their designs.
Hmm.
I don't remember if Smoker's jacket said Justice on it before, but he's now wearing a marine jacket over his other jacket.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's really interesting. So they're at G5. Can you? They said where G5 was like before like at the start of Return to Sabaody, and I don't freaking remember. Do you know? Can you inform me on that again?
I will have to look that up.
Because G5, I thought they said that was where. At first, I thought that was where the new Marine headquarters was, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's like where Marine Ford used to be or something, or it's on like it's in the New World, and they have the
Um,
people, the Marines there are like basically pirates that are they're almost in a sense like warlords, pirates that are sponsored by the Marines, but they're Marine pirates basically.
yeah, they're like
They're Marines that don't
maybe
follow
maybe
orders
not
from
on.
headquarters. They're not like
Yeah,
just like
they're
warlords because it's not
like
like
a
they're Marines turned pirates as opposed to like pirates turned world government allies. In a
yeah.
sense, where they don't follow orders from the world government, they just enact justice, which is an interesting
Hmm.
development for Smoker because Smoker was already kind of doing that, so now he's in a position where he is like sanctioned to do that.
Yeah.
And is on the hunt for Straw Hat. He knew that Straw Hat was going to be coming. I love that
Uh-huh.
Smoker positions him and the rest of his like fleet in the way of where the log pose would be set the most chaotic because he knows that Luffy would go that way. As
Yeah.
I love this way that Smoker has this understanding of Luffy, and we've talked at length about
Hmm.
Smoker being Luffy's Garp. But I just think
Yeah.
Smoker is cool as hell, man, and he's got the sunglasses and shit and the scar. I so
Dude,
hope
yeah.
we learn
Smoker's new
how he
design
got.
is so
I
good.
so hope we learn how Smoker got the scar. I'm really interested. I just
Uh-huh.
want to learn about how everybody got their new time skip design stuff. Like I want to know how Zoro lost the eye. I want to know how Smoker got the scar. If we see other
Yeah.
characters and they have new like striking visual things, like I don't know what time skip designs look like for like the supernovas, but say if like Law shows up and he's
Yeah.
got like a scar on his like arm or something, I'll be like, oh, I want to know how that happened to Law. Um,
Uh,
like that
but no,
stuff's
I did look it
interesting to
up,
me.
and G5 is just one of the marine bases in the New World.
Okay, I thought they had said something
That's all.
about where the new Marine base was, and I guess I mixed those up.
Yeah, so they moved Marineford to the New World and
Right.
swapped it with one of the other Marine bases. So like Marine HQ is in the New World now
Okay.
to be like, more directly adversarial with
Real
the
to
emperors
the
and stuff.
Emperors and the Supernovas who are now all in the
Um,
real world.
yeah. But no, it didn't have
Except
anything to
maybe
do with
Bonnie. I don't
G5
know what's up with
from
Bonnie.
what I'm seeing.
Also, I've been thinking about Bonnie, but I don't really have anything to say yet. I've just been thinking.
Just thinking. All
I've just
right.
been thinking because I feel like there's got to be something more to Bonnie that I'm not picking up on yet. Especially with the way, because I don't know, I just the fact that she immediately reminded me of Luffy is just so strange, and I feel like that's not something that you do unintentionally with Oda.
Yeah.
Especially since I also think Shirahoshi
Oda.
is similar in that she also sort of immediately reminds you of Luffy, but like as child Luffy,
Hmm.
um, with the way that he calls her crybaby and everything. So,
Right.
and then we get what might be my favorite part of this whole chunk of the story, which is hard to say because there's so many good parts, like Chopper saying he wants to be a monster, and like all the really
Hmm.
interesting stuff with Jinbei that I was talking about earlier. But as we're heading to the
Yeah.
surface, um, now I want to joke that the most important part is Nami showering, but that's not it. He did draw Nami showering the moment he was done writing the first arc in time skip, though. Um,
Let's go.
very classic Oda. But while Nami is
Yeah.
showering, they get pulled into this like rip current, like whirlwind thing, because they were doing
Hmm.
deep sea fishing. And then they get pulled out of this current and saved by a bunch of whales that all have the same scars and stuff on their face, and they look just like Laboon. And Brooke
Yeah.
just like breaks down into tears, and as mentioned, probably last discussion, and I'm gonna mention it every time Brooke cries. The fact that in the SPS Oda described that Brook is able to cry because even though all of his sad tears dried up over 50 years, he still has tears of joy because there are still wonderful people in this world, and him crying at
Hmm.
seeing these whales that are like Laboon. I mean, at first he thinks it is Laboon, and then thinking that it's Laboon's family, and so he goes to the top of the sunny and starts singing Binks's Brew and playing on the
Hmm.
violin, and the whole crew just like sitting together, like listening along and bobbing their heads along to Brooke's performance, and the whales enjoying it. Oh my god! Oh, and like them loving the song and guiding the Straw Hats to the new world so that Brooke can get
Mm-hmm.
closer to his goal of making it back to Laboon is just so much, man. It gets me so
Mm-hmm.
hard because I love Brooke and I love the stuff with Brooke so much, and the whales are
Yeah.
so wonderful, and the fact that maybe they really are Laboon's family because they get moved by the song in the same way that Laboon did
Mm-hmm.
is so wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess that's where sort of this section ends. I could
Yeah.
talk about the
Um,
little tiny bit of Punk Hazard, but I'm going to refrain. Um,
yeah, we'll keep Punk Hazard to its own
I'll
video.
save Punk Hazard for its own discussion, because I don't really have anything insightful or interesting to say about like the first chapter or two of Punk Hazard. Really, the most I talked about
Mm-hmm.
Punk Hazard was just the smoker section, because that's part of Punk Hazard
Yeah.
still. Um, So I guess the last thing on our list is any predictions. Is there anything you want to know my thoughts on that is like moving forward in the future? Because I feel like I've sort of interspersed my predictions about like the weapons and
Yeah.
the other stuff going
Um,
on. But is there anything else you think we need to touch on that I should be maybe trying to predict? Anything you're curious about my thoughts on? Leave
I
it to
mean,
you
like,
to
I would say,
question.
like,
Oh,
I'm trying to think of what questions I can ask
that
without
without
them being
leading,
like
yeah,
leading or probing questions. Yeah.
right, exactly.
Um,
Is tough. I guess I put you in a tough position, but um,
but I mean, I guess just like generally, like, where do you see the Straw Hats going from here? Like, what do you think their path is gonna be like? Are they gonna fucking book it to the Emperors? Are they gonna go beat Big Mom's ass? Are they gonna? What do you think's going on?
I think that they're going to want to try to book it to Big Mom, but I think that something is going to get in the way. Obviously, Punk Hazard is immediately getting in the way. My guess is that Punk Hazard maybe has something to do with Vegapunk, just because there's the Punk in both names, and so I feel like there's got to be some connection
Mm-hmm.
there, or at least it's something that you're probably
Yeah.
intended to at least think about, even if there's not a connection. Um,
Yeah.
and that maybe there is going to be some secret or something they learn on Punk Hazard that's going to lead them to their next goal, and that's going to maybe be an intermediary step between Punk Hazard and dealing with Big Mom. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's also the questions of like Doflamingo is still sort of floating out there and
Yeah.
questionable. There's like
I mean,
crocodiles
there's
still
also
at
the like, what are
large.
the supernova up
What are the
to?
supernovas up to? I don't know why. I just got this feeling that we're gonna see Law soon. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I want to see Law, but I feel like Law is gonna come up soon. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Um, I really just want to know what the supernovas are up to because I think they're so interesting and I want to learn more about all of them.
Yeah.
Really. Um,
Of course.
I don't know why I've got a sense that we're gonna see Law soon. I just that's my hope is that we see Law again. Um,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I feel like a lot of it depends on what we find out in Punk Hazard.
Yeah.
Because we've still got so many loose threats looming around. There's Doflamingo. There's Big Mom. Maybe I mean we're gonna. I don't. I know that Wano isn't next, but there is a samurai from Wano country on Punk Hazard. So maybe we're gonna learn more about what Wano is and what's going on Wano, and maybe Luffy's gonna want to go kick Kaido's ass or something. And so Kaido could become a goal for the Straw Hats. But I feel like right now
Yeah.
the biggest goal we know of is that Luffy has beef with Big Mom and Big Mom has beef with Luffy. Um, and that we
Yeah.
can't get Jinbei until Big Mom's out of the picture. So we need to at least do that to get Jinbei. But I don't know. I don't know. And then there's like also Crocodile and Buggy are around doing shit. And then
Yeah.
like presume and then
Buggy.
there's new stuff
What do you think Buggy's up to? What
I
do you think
think
Buggy's up
I
to?
think Buggy is up to the only thing Buggy could be up to, which is failing upwards. I think there's a chance he's got a big ass bounty in the new world and he's doing wacky shit and his crew is pulling the weight, but they think that Buggy is the one that's carrying them. Um, who knows? Maybe he's
Buggy,
like
we did see
working.
Buggy get that letter at the end of post
That's
war.
true. Buggy's maybe I don't know. He could be working with somebody, and his crew thinks that the person he's working with is working for Buggy and not the other way around. I could see. I don't know. I know Crocodile's off to the New World. Maybe he's back to wanting to try and be king of the pirates, and he's pushing for that goal again.
Mhm.
And then there's also the fact that we don't know anything about the two open admiral slots at the Marines. So maybe we need to have a run-in with the Marines outside of Smoker, who I think will probably maybe be a threat during Punk Hazard, since I mean he said that he's going
Mhm.
after Straw Hat at Punk Hazard, and his crew are like, "Are you sure,
Yeah.
Captain?" And he's like, "What did I tell you? We're going to Punk Hazard now."
This is my
Um,
thing.
it's my thing is to hunt after Straw Hat Luffy. So I don't know. I feel like the most obvious next threat to deal with is Smoker and whoever the hell is on Punk Hazard. But Smoker
Yeah.
is not like a main threat. I mean, not that he's not threatening, but in the sense that like I don't think he's. We're not at the point of the story where Smoker
He's
can be.
not he's not like ideologically opposed to Luffy in any way.
Oh, I
Like he
mean,
seems like
he
more of
kind
like
of
a
is, but not in the sense that like,
well,
not in the sense that Smoker is like our next main villain kind of thing. Like Smoker's not our next main
right, yeah.
antagonist. Smoker is a more persistent threat moving forward. So Smoker can be part of the
Mhm.
plot of this next arc, but Smoker can't really be the big guy in this upcoming arc. So there's maybe somebody else going on here, or maybe just learning about the world is the main goal of this, and so Spoker kind of plays the role of an antagonist to push us to different places of the island. And then I
Mhm.
think I think we're gonna discover something on Punk Hazard, and that's gonna push us to whatever our next goal is, whether that be Doflamingo or Big Mom or Kaido or the Marines or I don't know. Some maybe Crocodile is a threat again. I don't know. Somebody. Or maybe the supernovas. Maybe Kid is a big problem because he keeps killing people and Luffy wants to go kick his ass or something.
Yeah.
Because we got to think about the fact that Kid is out on the oceans, and now I'm thinking
Kid
about
is out
you.
there
And now I'm thinking about
being Kid.
and now I'm thinking about the useless Captain Mid, which is so funny to me still.
Yeah,
The
it's useless Captain Mid.
That's maybe the greatest shonen agenda name I've ever heard. Is truly incredible. Um, but I think those are my predictions for where we're going next. I mean, obviously I know we're going to Punk Hazard, but what after Punk Hazard I think is going to be
Mhm.
dependent on that. Maybe if there is Vegapunk stuff,
So,
maybe we'll learn more about Kuma.
mm.
Also, speaking of Kuma, that reminds me, we have like 3 Warlord slots, right? That they need to fill.
Yeah, so Kuma,
Because there's Kuma,
Blackbeard,
there's well, no, they lost Blackbeard, they lost Jinbei, they still have Boa, they still have
and they
Doflamingo, although maybe not for long. Also, who the hell is the bowler hat guy
and I
from
mean
Doflamingo's thing? That guy could be important too. There's
but I mean Kuma was protecting the Sunny for the last 2 years, so
That's
presumably not
true.
doing warlord
Not
shit.
doing warlord shit, but I feel like maybe he's still a warlord, or maybe now that he's a full on pacifista, they don't want him as a warlord anymore. So maybe they need to replace Kuma, they need to replace Moria, they need to replace Blackbeard, and they need to replace Jinbei. So they need to replace 3 to 4 people.
Yeah.
And then if potentially in the last 2 years Doflamingo's gotten bored of their little arrangement, maybe they need to replace 5. Or
Yeah.
maybe I still feel like there's because like I don't know. At that point, like why even keep the warlords around? But I think there's got to be some reason why the warlords have to exist, and that there needs to be
Hmm.
7 of them. I don't know what it is, but I think there's some reason they need to exist, and there needs to be 7 of them. So I'm interested to see
Hmm.
who could be filling those roles, either as maybe completely new characters, or maybe it's people we know already. Like
Could be
maybe
Buggy.
one of the supernovas is one. I think Buggy is too prideful to be a warlord. Buggy wants to be the king of the pirates. I mean, I guess so did Crocodile, but Buggy's not the kind of guy who would become a warlord and then plot some big scheme while he's not being watched by the government to become king of the pirates like Crocodile did. Buggy's too stupid. Affectionately, Buggy's too stupid.
Of
Um,
course, I love Buggy.
I don't think Crocodile would be willing to rejoin the warlords. I think he wants to do his own shit
Yeah,
now.
no, it seems like he's more on his own, doing his own shit
But like
now.
most of the big deal characters we know about are either would not join the warlords anymore, are emperors, or are one of the supernovas. So maybe some of the supernovas have joined the warlords. But who
Yeah,
knows?
I mean, we do know that the government does shit like that. Like they offered Ace a warlord
Yeah, they
position
offered Ace a
when he
warlord
was up and
position when
coming.
he was up and coming, so it's certainly not impossible. Who knows? Maybe Wet Hair Caribou becomes a warlord.
Don't ever say shit like that
Hey,
again.
I wasn't happy about it. I was just thinking out loud, you know. Um,
Think different thoughts.
um, so I don't know. Those are my thoughts about where we're going next. I don't
All
want
right.
to keep extending it too much.
Yeah. All right. Well, then I think that
I
is.
think we
I
call it
think that's
there for this
we're
main
gonna end it.
discussion.
All right. Well, if anyone has any thoughts or opinions on shit that we said,
Leave
leave it in
a
the comments.
ring the bell is what you should do if
Don't be
you
mean to us.
be mean to
And
him, not
don't
me.
spoil shit for. Yeah, you can be mean to me all you want. I don't care. Um, yeah, do the YouTube things or don't. Like we said in the beginning. I mean, if you watched all this though, you probably did like it. So, you know, maybe just hit the little thumbs up button.
Yeah.
Please,
Also,
please,
congratulations on
please,
winning the deer game.
please, please, please.
Please, 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 please.